Welcome to the Fire Family Collective podcast, the show dedicated to supporting the unsung heroes of the fire service, the wives, partners, and families who hold down the fort while their firefighters serve. All right, welcome back to the Fire Family Collective podcast. I am Amanda, and I am so excited to be chatting today with Erin. How you doing, Erin?
I am so good. How are you?
I'm really good. I can't wait to hear more about you and your fire family experience and how you found the collective. So let's hear that. Tell me about yourself.
Yeah, my name's Erin Reed. Like you said, I'm fire wife now. I had to think about this last night. I guess we're into our 13th year for him being a career firefighter. But prior to that, my husband was also a volunteer firefighter for many years. Alongside his, I guess what we'll call previous career. So in that time, we got married. We can talk about that in a bit because he got his acceptance letter right before our wedding. So our first year of marriage was in academy. And then since then, we've got two boys. They are 10 and almost 8, very active, busy, lots of activities and sports. We're in that uber season of life, I call it, as a parent. And I also work full time. I have a pretty demanding career as well, which I think it's feeling like a bit unique that you have two, parents working in this, similar capacity in terms of time. And that's kind of why I started searching out resources and, other fire partners or spouses, because I'm finding our situation to be pretty unique. So anyway, that's kind of how I found the collective. I actually found it through Chelsea, who I know does a lot here, and has her own thing going as well. So I've been connected to her for a few years now. So I was happy to find this space.
Yeah, I'm actually talking to Chelsea next. So that's awesome.
Oh, that's great.
So you work full time, you have 2 babies, you found the collective a few months ago, and you're finding that it's bringing you that connection that you're wanting, which is awesome. And did you say you also homeschool? Do I remember that?
No, goodness, no.
Okay.
No, our kids go to school. There's no, that would be impossible.
Okay.
No.
And I can relate. My kids are much younger, almost 5 and 6. And I'm in that phase, started last year, like driving them to all these places. And I just constantly am saying, how do people do this with jobs, with their partner in the, emergency medicine? There's no way unless you have support and other people who can help pitch in. Because some of these things, they're like at 3:00. Like, who ends their workday that early to be able to take their kids to these things? And it's like 4 days a week.
Yeah,
and
I live that life.
Multiple kids. And you're like, how do I do multiple kids, multiple places, and have a job? Yes. Yeah.
It's one big juggling act at all times, I'd say. Or it's a puzzle. I say that too. Like, we're continually moving pieces around. My kids actually have that right now. They both are very into basketball. It's that time of year. And they both have basketball 4 days a week and starts at 4:00, which also not great for the work schedule. A couple things that work for me. I am very thankful that I can generally work remotely. So I'm in the office a day or so a week. It's completely flexible, which, I know not everyone has that ability. So that's been a blessing. And, I just flex my day as I need to. I block myself out from meetings for the most part, or where I'm not leading the meeting, because I can't really lead a meeting from the car, that sort of thing. But sometimes, my kids are very used to listening to topics they are wildly uninterested in, or I'm getting them to practice and I'm in the hallway on a computer at times. It's a little messy and chaotic, but, I don't want our burden of our careers to be their burden. And I want them to be able to do, the things that they love to a point. We have a limit. You each can't sign up for 3 or 4 activities a season. We don't have that capacity. But making sure we're prioritizing, their main sport or main activity where we can. And, knowing it's a season, right? Basketball ends at the beginning of March. It's not like this, 52 weeks a year.
Right. You want to have the opportunity for them to explore their interests and navigate it within the context that works with your family and your
Yeah.
capacity.
Yeah.
And yeah, sometimes it's hard because they're like, well, I want to try this and I want to try that. And you're like, there's only one mommy and
Yep.
I can't be in two places at once. So,
Right. It's a little, it's a give and take. It's like, if you want to try that, here's what we may have to give up. Or, trying to give them options that aren't just, let's dive in and commit for the next 3 months or whatever it is. But basketball seems to be sticking for both of them, which, is fun. And, they've got, we got chess club after school. Like, that's great. But just know, now you're going to go from this to the next thing to the next thing. And, we talk about that. And, I'm solo today as an example. And this afternoon, I actually take both kids to the same practice because I can't get them two different places at the same time. So I talk to the coach. My younger one goes to the older practice onto the days that, my husband's on shift, because obviously it's physically impossible to get them both.
and that's nice when you have like coaches who are understanding. I had the same or similar conversation with my son's baseball coach last season. I was like, it's just me. My husband's gone all the time. And so there's going to be days like he just misses because I can't do it all. So he was super understanding and we had him for 2 seasons and it was fantastic. And I'm just really grateful. Like people get it, and they don't like punish my kid for that. So
I think if we're upfront, that's I think what I've been much better at. I think, maybe it's age or experience in this life now, is just like I am kind of unapologetic now and like just asking for what I need and explaining why. And, no one's really pushed back on that yet. I'm sure at some point it will happen. Like, no, I really need them here, or you need to be there. And, I have those times with work, but it's, if I'm looking ahead and communicating it, hopefully I can find help maybe through one of my parents or my husband's parents, which, both help here and there. I would say they're not, consistent by any means, not because they don't want to, but we want them to have lives too. They're grandparents. They're not our, full-time care support by any means. But, I'll adjust like, hey, can somebody hold over for you for an hour so I can, get out the door, or whatever, any chance somebody can come in an hour early. Like, I try to use those asks sparingly but at the same time, my husband's really good about offering, other people in his station, like, hey, I've got a jet, my wife has this or a kiddo has that, he'll offer when he can too, to do that coverage. So,
that's nice when you have that aspect of Fire Family where you
yes,
know that the department, the guys, the crews take care of each other and see that need and support each other that way. It's that give and take, and that they foster that type of camaraderie. It's nice when you have a department that's like that, or a crew.
yes. He works with some great people. And a lot of them are in that same season or were. And so it's like, I totally understand. Happy to do it, that type of thing.
Yeah. Did you want to share a little bit more about your husband's like fire department and, like you said, his first year and your new marriage? Like how was that?
It was something. It was a time. So we got married in December of 2013. And at the time, obviously we both worked full time then, and we both coached sports. And so honestly, we kind of were used to that life already. It's like, well, I'll see you at 9 p.m. or whatever, depending on what part of the season we were each in. So we planned our wedding for December because it was a break from what we were coaching, which is kind of funny to think about now, but it worked and it was easy for family and friends. But we got his acceptance letter that fall. So we knew like second week of January, he was going into the academy, and the department he's with, the academy is a year long.
Wow.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So you are in, it's adjusted now. So it's not exactly the same. It's still a year. So you're probation for a full year. You're in, kind of like a classroom setting. And I do that because obviously they're in the field and doing things as well. But they're in a classroom setting. It was like 4 months, I feel like, maybe 6. I think it's slightly less now. Maybe it's 4 now and it was 6. And then you go to, a regular shift, but you're the training crew. So you're obviously with, well, we're not, you're trainers, but you're working that shift schedule for the back half of your probationary year. So it's a full year. So we didn't take a honeymoon. We postponed it, which was kind of that first, like, okay, this is real. This career definitely has, I guess, made it so like that's a priority in our lives. We have to adjust to it. I will say on the flip side, it was kind of nice to have that to look forward to. Looking back, because it's such a whirlwind. You get married, you go on a honeymoon if you can, and then it's like, oh wait, it's done and over. So looking back, it was worth it. But at the time, I was kind of like, oh, like we have this really hard year coming up, and having him be pretty much unavailable Monday through Friday, 12 hours a day, was hard, but I'm thankful, people navigate that with children and full families. And it was just us at the time. And while I think it was hard, he was in the academy with people that had like a new baby. And I just can't imagine, all the challenges that brings and the feelings. So.
And he's been with the same department since. That's nice.
Yep. Same department. He volunteered for a few different departments prior. But here, where we live, the biggest city department with, I would say, potential for the most fire, I guess, is Portland. So that was kind of always a goal for him.
Yeah. My husband got hired in 2015 for his like first full-time career fire department. He was a paramedic and an EMT and a volunteer firefighter before that as well. And I remember sitting in that family day orientation, and there was close to 40 new hires, which was a big class.
That's a big class, yeah.
And it was a combination of the department he was hired with and then 2 smaller departments had people in it. And I thought that was really cool because it allowed us the opportunity to get to know people from other departments. But I remember there was this other woman, 2 specific women stand out. One was, I'm getting married in a few weeks. Like, what does that look like? And you could hear a pin drop. It was like, you don't ask that question. And that was like, everyone was like kind of put in their place. And then, like you said, someone with a newborn, this mom, she had toting around the little, car seat with the baby in it. And I'm just thinking like, I'm nervous about me. I'm just a, girlfriend at the time. And she has a newborn. How is she going to do this? And, not to have like toxic mentality, but like, those are the thoughts that I would be like, I am not the new mom. Like, I can do this. It's just me. Like, yes, it's not fun. It's hard. I'm sacrificing a lot. I'm giving up time with him. I moved away from my family to follow him to be here, all that stuff. But still, like, my heart is not that hard, and I can get through this.
Yep. That was kind of the pep talk I gave myself too. And I think I remember that family orientation day as well. And I think I went to a couple academies after, they'd invite back, like we were like veterans at that point, but, had enough of that fresh academy experience, I guess, to be able to, say, hey, here's what this might look like. And, just setting up different the communication plan you might need was what I always talked about. Was like my husband and I at the time, who was like, it doesn't bother me. Like, text me everything you need to throughout the day. I'm not going to see it till, we have lunch or the end of that day. So if I have 17 messages from you that are very random, I don't care. It's fine. Other people may not like that. That might be overwhelming. So just, I think, having that understanding, I remember that clearly. And I remember one woman was like, "Oh, my husband would hate that." And I was like, well, maybe you're going to put all these thoughts in notes in your phone or on a notepad or wherever, somewhere that at some point in the day or the days to follow, those are things for you to discuss. But everyone's different. So it's trying to find what works for you, and hopefully you get an idea from someone else, but it may not be, perfect, or it's something you can adjust.
Right. I love that you do that. I've just started doing that recently with the new hires, significant others here. And it is so cool. I also feel really old.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
I remember me being on the other side of the table 10 years ago, and I'm like, 10 years has not passed. I still am like a baby. How can I be
Yeah.
the, veteran person now having the conversation? And it blows my mind. And like you said, hopefully what we can share sparks a conversation or the thought process of, if they run into that, they're like, hey, I remember when Erin said this communication thing, like maybe we need to try something different because I don't want this bubbling up and building a huge argument in the middle of the week,
Yeah.
So I just think that it's really nice that your department is seeing kind of the benefit of having that for the fire family and taking time to let you and other partners have that space to do that. Because for me, I feel like we should lock arms immediately. I don't have the mindset of like we need to wait until they're off probation, because we're fire family from day one.
Yep.
And I love that you have that. And that first year is hard. At academies, having that, like you said, Monday through Friday. In this department now, they have Wednesdays off when they're in the
Mm-hmm.
academy. So my husband didn't have that, but I think that's really nice. They have like a midweek reset. They can catch up on sleep, recovery, study, actually connect with their partner, go be out in nature, whatever they need to take care of themselves. And I also, like you said, so for my husband's first department he was hired on, they had their 4-month academy, and then the year probation started from after the
It's a
um
long time.
a long time. You like don't realize that you're like holding your breath in a certain
Yeah.
way until that probation ends and you have like the graduation from that. You're like,
Yes. Now we've made it type of a thing. Yeah.
yeah, and
Yep.
it's such a huge deal. And like you said, having your honeymoon to celebrate, that's one of the things I tell the partners is like, think of something to celebrate at the end. And it can be as small or as big as you want. It could be you want to go on a trip together for 2 nights to get
Mm-hmm.
away from everything, not worry about the dishes and the laundry and meal prep and all that stuff. It could be an adventure you do together as a couple. It could be just something for you because you're like, I earned this. Like
Yeah.
what,
Say, I love that.
have that carrot for you that you're looking forward to. I don't know what the like psychology is behind that because I'm not a medical professional,
Yeah.
but
No, but it is always nice, right? When you can look forward to a trip. I mean, even just in real life, it's like you've got that thing, whatever it is, or we said we were going to do XYZ, or, like we want to do that cooking class. We don't have time. It's only scheduled, maybe it doesn't work right now, but we're going to do it when you're done. Or, we always want to go to that nice restaurant, but, like maybe it's not in budget all the time, but we know we're going to go when this happens. There's so many things you can do, but I don't know why, but it is nice to have that.
yeah, it's nice. And for the, new significant others to know that they have that face and that name they can reach back out to. And I know for me, that was super helpful when my husband started down here as a lateral firefighter to have those veteran wives here because I wasn't a new fire wife. I was just new to this department
Yeah.
and
Yep.
trying to, it was just a different experience trying to not fit in, but like find my place among already established relationships in a different way than as like a complete new hire. I don't know. You think it'd be the same, but it's not. It's different.
I can completely relate. My husband didn't lateral into the department he's in, but when he was through probation and, you do some traveling, right? Till you kind of find your place, what station you're going to be at. And he we spent 10 years at a station, but still, I mean, we still call it home. because it was really where he wanted to be. And it was a great crew, but it was definitely a more established crew. So he was, I think at the time, the only newbie. So everyone else was at a different place in their fire career or really in their lives too. So you had these like this great group of people in the academy, and then we all kind of went these different directions. So it was like I did kind of feel like I was coming into a department as maybe a lateral because I was introduced to now, fantastic people that are our friends, forever. Half of them have retired now. That's where they were in their, careers already. So it was just a different, I think, different than I expected it was going to be. But at the same time, it was good because those were a lot of wives that could be like, girl, this is what it's going to be like. Don't be afraid to do this, this, and this. Don't listen to that old school mentality of, well, just suck it up. This is how it is. And, even them being in it 20, 25, 30 years, we're like, no, that's, that mentality is gone. You need to take care of yourself and your family and, your fire partner too.
Yeah, I'm so thankful for the shift in that. And it seems like most departments that we're, acquainted with, it's a whole department wide shift. And it's really good to see in the past, 10, 11 years that he's been hired, that shift to value what is important for family at home and the firefighter, and seeing how different ways that they're offering to prioritize that and get the word out of the various types of support. And it's not just like a suck it up buttercup.
Yeah.
This is how it is. You chose this career.
Yep. Yeah, that's, I think, just the cop out answer, right? I mean, you still see that. I see it on social media at times, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this isn't a vent, this whole, the collective as an example, or, all these other podcasts and Instagram accounts. It's like, it's not a vent necessarily. Like it may start that way, but it's also like, how do we find solutions? People looking for an answer for how to handle something, not just, I just want to put it out there so you can hear me complain. It's someone else is probably going through this and would maybe have some advice for me. And I think that's the part that maybe those naysayers are just seeing the vent, but they're not seeing, the result of what people are trying to get.
Yeah, I think, to find this space in the collective to have connection and feel safe and seen and know that, we are right alongside you. Like, I've been there. I know how hard this is. I can't will it away. I can hold your hand through it. And yeah, it's going to be hard. And I'm sorry you're feeling that way. And then for other situations where it's like we can offer like practical resources, like here's a parenting course we created specifically for the first responder fire family, and you can dive into little chunks when you have the time, because it's a 6 course module that we created for the different stages. And you have both sides of that, where you can vent and have women hold space for you and lift you up, and then you can also dive into that course and be like, oh my gosh, this resource is exactly what I needed, and I pick up this nugget and I pick up that nugget, and then I go back to my ladies and say, thank you for holding space for me when I was having a really hard time and I implemented this, and oh my gosh, it worked, or that didn't work, but we got here and tried this. And just to know that the collective is that space that has multifaceted pieces to support our dynamic, needs as fire families, is incredible.
And it's such a beautiful, beautiful thing. Excuse me. I don't know why that came out funky. That it's, it's a private, separate thing. Like I think everything else is, not to anyone's fault. It's the easy way, is like it's out on social media. And then it's like, well, then you have, you're exposing yourself to potentially any kind of feedback. And I think that's the challenge. So that's been the difference with this group. I've appreciated, I don't get in it as much as I want to. But every once in a while I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go look at what's going on over here. That's interesting. And I really appreciate that it's, growing, and it's people from all over the place. It seems now. because there's just so much, I think, to learn outside of our own, little bubble of our department or our region or whatever.
Yeah. And I think in that regard, it's nice to know that it is nationwide and you can connect with partners across the country. And
Yeah.
that's really cool. I love that aspect of it. I'm getting to know people like you from the Pacific Northwest. And I talked with someone the other day from, now I'm forgetting the state, I think it was Texas. Yeah, Texas. And I'm like, that is so cool. And we could connect that way on social media, but having this private space, I think it allows people to dive in deeper faster because it's just a safer space and you feel like you can open up, in my
Yeah.
opinion, just right away, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Totally.
Yeah, I love that. And then you had mentioned that your husband has some like special task force situation. How does that affect life with your fire family?
That's been an interesting ad. Our department and many others, this is not unique to where we are by any means. Probably, I would assume, mostly in, I say larger cities. A lot of people are like, Portland is not a large city, but it is for us in our state. But I think a lot of large cities have this, like a rapid response team, large gatherings, potential civil unrest, and fire has a certain number of trained individuals that are there as medics. So, sure, there could be a fire of some kind and they know how to handle that, but they're generally there to ensure safety of, anyone who, maybe is there protesting or, obviously if there's, police involved or law enforcement around for, safety and all of that, that they're obviously being taken care of too. So they're there as medics. And there's a very small number that are in that specialty unit in our department, just because of the size of our city and our department. But that, started, I feel like maybe 2017. So he was not a part of it when it was initiated here, but he did join in 2020. And that was, obviously everyone remembers the summer of 2020. There was obviously the pandemic and then, a lot of civil unrest in many cities, and ours was one. And so he was gone pretty much every night, deployed, and I mean every night, to the point of, leaving at 3 p.m., home at 2 or 3 a.m., having to sleep. I have to work. The kids are home because it's summer. And so trying to navigate that 2020 was my breaking point, I would say. Just because there was really no end and you've just got this small squad that can assist in those situations. And the world was already feeling a little out of control with the pandemic and all these things. So it just, all of it was unsettling, I'd say. But he's been a part of it since then, and nothing has been as intense since that summer. But there's large gatherings of all kinds, and generally they're just fine. But there are plenty that are, maybe not completely fine, and he's there or gets called. Things happen in the world, and it's like, oh, we're getting deployed. I'm like, okay, so our dinner with friends, I assume you have to bail, or do I need to adjust? Do I need to cancel this so you can be gone? Because it's usually a day of or day prior deployment, unless it's, that type of thing isn't typically planned, in terms of what members of society are going to do. We really have to be able to pivot, and he works with a great crew. And, they all do their best, like, hey, it's my kid's birthday, or I'm out of town, or, like, oh, I got this one, and they kind of work around each other's schedules the best they can. But ultimately, a certain number of them have to be there. And that's been an added obstacle, I think, for us to work through. And it's also different. It's a different type of work, depending on the situation. If it's really tense, that's scary. I I grew up as the daughter of a police officer, and there's a lot of law enforcement in my family. So I'm used to that life, but I didn't marry that life for a reason. Um, so having him work alongside those roles, like, is, I think, part comforting to me, because a lot of those people are like family to me as well, because I grew up around it. But it's also, not situations I'm used to as a fire wife. It's more like, that was a big fire and that kind of freaks me out, but I trust your training and I trust the people you work with. These are now social situations with, you never know what somebody may or may not do. Hopefully nothing, and it's fine, but there's just a lot more unknown to me as a spouse, I would say. Yeah, so that's been different.
Yeah, you touched on a couple things. I just quickly jotted down some
Yeah.
notes. So, first off, growing up as a child of a first responder already, right? Like, that in and of itself, I do not in the same realm, but I remember as a kid growing up, my parents were divorced, my dad traveled for work, and I always told myself, I will not be with someone who is never home. I am with someone who is never
Whoops.
home. And like, and the same thing, I was like, I don't want my kids to grow up with their parent gone all the time. My kids grow up with their parent gone all the time. So that, I don't know how we do that to ourselves. It's something. But in the sense that, for you have a familiarity with like the safety aspect of it, and with your dad being gone for longer periods, like, it doesn't make it better, but I just feel like you already have like a mindset and the ability to support your kids in a different way, because you can say like, mommy understands. I know what it was like because my dad was gone. And I'm not saying I'm making it any better, but I really feel what you feel, and I can understand and empathize. I really do. And I like to think that that helps, because those are conversations I have with my kids of like, I know what it feels like to miss a parent because I wasn't with mine all the time, and it makes me really sad. So I think that of the kind of bummer situation, it's nice that you have that different level of empathy you can relate with your kids. Um, and then, yeah, it doesn't make it better for you as the wife, though. You're like, oh my gosh, like, I'm more terrified. It's already bad enough you want to run into burning buildings, but now
Yes.
you want to be around another type of unsafe situation. Like, why are you doing this to me?
Yes, that's pretty much.
Like, I know you're not doing it to me,
No,
and this is
no.
great. You want to expand yourself this way and grow and help our community.
Yes.
So it's terrifying.
Yes, it can be. I think, I am by far, I mean, this is going to come as no shock to anyone who either knows us or just in fire spouse life in general. Like, I am absolutely the more anxious one. He is calm, cool, collected in literally every situation. I have honestly never seen him worked up about anything, which is great for his career and great as a parent. Because usually my reaction is like, and he's like, all right, so what do we got here? Like, we'll figure it out. I'm just like, how? If I could learn some of that, it'd be great.
The chill.
The chill. Yeah, he just completely has that. And I'm wildly jealous. But it does help in those scenarios. Like, he has never, and he would tell me, he's honest, he's never come home like, that was questionable, or that was like, he just trusts the training. He trusts the people he's with. And, ultimately we can, look at something like a situation that maybe I know he was at and see it on the news, and he can easily, or, even a fire, whatever it is, and he can easily be like, well, maybe that was a moment, but, you have to remember, I was there for this long, and, all of this happened and it was fine. It was under control, or whatever. What you saw was just a blip in time. But I also don't watch the news for all of those reasons.
Yes.
But, he can give me his perspective as actual boots on the ground. And I just have to trust that. And he's very good and always has been. And my dad was this way too. He's still alive, so I don't say was, but he's retired. Like calling, and, obviously as a child, there was no FaceTime. But, calling to check in, or at least calling and getting an update from my mom, maybe if we were at school or whatever, so she could relay messages to us. Or, he gave up sleep all the time to be at our stuff at off times, depending on his shift. And my husband now is really good about that with our kids too. Like, there's a FaceTime, not every shift, but pretty much every shift, if possible, or, just checking in. Or if a kid says, hey, I want to call dad. And, I'm like, hey, I got to check in. I don't know, if it's a good time, but we'll find a time that works. So they're pretty good about voicing that. And we're pretty good about trying to figure out how to make it happen. As long as they know they always have that. And if it's not right now, maybe it's tonight, or maybe it's in an hour, or, maybe it has to be tomorrow, but here's why. And he sent you this message or something. So,
yeah, I think we're fortunate with technology now.
Yes.
And when my dad was traveling, he didn't have a cell phone until I don't even know how old it was, like maybe around 10 or something. And but now if the kids want to talk to dad, we just take a little video and send a video.
Or send a video. Yep.
And then when daddy can, he'll either call us back or he'll send a video back. Yep. There's other apps you can use besides that, but that just has been the easiest for us. And it helps them feel like they're communicating. And then they're so happy when they get a video back, and then they can play it again, and they can play it again. So we're fortunate with the advancement in technology.
We are so fortunate. I've heard, people like, I call and read the kids' bedtime story over FaceTime or the phone. Like, there's just so many different things. We were kind of we didn't go that far. I think our kids just didn't have the attention span, or like, show me the funny faces on a filter. That was more their thing when they were little. But there's so many things you can do. And I think the other for us, granted, depends on your location. But we've always been fairly close, 30, maybe 40 minutes at most from the station he's at. So if there is an opportunity on, maybe a weekend, like, hey, maybe this is a good weekend to try and do a station visit if we can. Those are pretty few and far between these days, just because, the season of life the kids are in. But they loved that, and they loved seeing, the people he's working with. And, those people obviously become like family to us, being at the same station for 10 years. So it's half the time it's like, okay, dad, I want to talk to you, but like, oh, is so-and-so there? Let me see the guys. And it's like, wait, do you not want to talk to me? But, it's, obviously not a bad thing. It's just funny.
Yeah. It's built-in family. I know I had one of our friends texted us the other night. She said her son asked if our kids were their family, and she was like, well, they're your fire family. And it's such a gift to know that there's a lot of sacrifice we make as fire families. And on the flip side, there's so many things that we gain, and this like found family, this additional community. And our kids are just so fortunate. I said this in the new family day a few weeks ago. Our kids are surrounded by hundreds of the most incredible people. You can't ask for better mentors and role models for your kids to be surrounded by than the first responder community and their partners. Everyone is a badass. Yeah. They're the type of people who show up. And this was, like I said, a few weeks ago before my husband had his surgery. And since the surgery, just astronomical through the roof has shown up for our family. And our kids are seeing this. And it's just, I'm sure in other professions you have great people you're surrounded by, but just the level and
probably not the same.
It's just not. It's truly such an incredible blessing to have your kids grow up around these people who run into the burning buildings, show up to help your husband that was just in the hospital, help you, whatever. It's so incredible. And we sacrifice a lot, and we also have these other great blessings that I could have never imagined.
Yeah, that's a great point. I was thinking about that as you were saying it. I was like, well, I work with a lot of great people on the day-to-day in my profession. Certainly not the same level that you get from fire families. And I think, is it because of the type of job you're in with each other? Is it because you're on, 24-hour or 48 or 72-hour shifts. I don't know. Obviously that would be another probably good like psychology question. But it is different. And I think to the understanding piece, no one understands a fire family like a fire family. Like I'm like, I am going to have to explain why I can't do something, why you are home at Costco on a Tuesday. Like we have to explain ourselves constantly. And I think it was like last year, I was like, you know what? I used to get so annoyed. Like, oh my gosh, and it's a lot of the same people, right? It's like the coworker I worked with for 7 years, or my aunt, or one of my friends. It's like, you've known me this long, and this has always been, and you're still asking. It used to annoy me, and now I'm just like, that's never going to go away because you don't live it. And it's really hard to explain to somebody whose partner, maybe they're gone, a few days at a time for a work trip, but generally their work schedule's 8 to 5 or whatever. Like, they're around, and maybe their job isn't potentially, this is dramatic, but maybe their job isn't potentially life or death type of a thing, or dealing with people in, high stress situations of their own. It's just different. So I've just gotten over the fact that I'm going to have to explain. I had to do it this morning. I have a all day work, like meeting strategy session tomorrow. I can't be at work at 8 a.m. I drop my kids off at school, so I can be there by 8:30, but it starts at 8. I won't be there. I'll be there at 8:30, ready to go. And it was like, I still had to explain why I've worked with this person for 7 years. And it's like, it is what it is. That's just.
Yeah. And like you said earlier, like I'm unapologetic about this. I'm not spending any more of my emotional capacity on that. And you can definitely have feelings about it. I will not take your feelings away. It is not changing my circumstance, and it is not changing how I operate my life. So I hear you. I will see you at 8:30.
Yeah. I mean, I will communicate. I'm an over communicator, probably for that reason. Like, I'm as organized as I can be given my circumstances. And yeah, it just is.
Yeah. And obviously you would be there at 8 if you could. And
yeah, yes, I can't leave my kids.
yeah, you're not just like, I need an extra 30 minutes to get ready that day. No.
Yeah, I just thought I could treat myself to a good coffee and sit and relax quietly. Like, no.
Yeah. Your circumstance is different. And to expand upon that point of like the unpredictability with this special task force of your husband, or getting held over, whatever it is, and explaining yourself to people, it does still surprise me, like you said, over 10 years into this career, when people are surprised by it, and you're like, this has been how it is for 10 plus years. Like, how does this still surprise you?
Yep.
And uh, just like, okay, we can have the same conversation again. And then on the other side of it, explaining that to the new hires, right? Like, your life is completely unpredictable and you don't have control over it. Yes, there's a set schedule, A, B, C shift for the next million years. However, you cannot bank on that. And if it's a holiday, plan that they won't be there. If it's a special event, they need to do all the things to protect and make sure they have that time off, either put in vacation or sick or do a trade. Like, it's not guaranteed. Even if you do all those things, some crazy thing could happen and they get mandated 2 days before. And like, you just always have to kind of have that in the back of your mind. And I try to teach my kids that now. Like, they're like, can you just tell us who's going to be there or what we're doing? And I'm like, I can't, because I don't want you to be disappointed. And so when it happens, or whoever shows up, then you're going to find out, because I grew up with constant disappointment and people not showing up. And I'm not a psychology professor. I have no idea if that's the right thing to do, but I try to, I refuse to let my kids have that disappointment. And explaining it to other adults is different than explaining it to my kids.
Yes.
And there still is nothing that can prepare me. Like, I still get disappointed now myself.
For sure. I do too.
It's a bummer. It's like, well, okay, I guess I am going to go by myself, or we're going to reschedule. And for the most part, people are more
Yeah.
understanding now. But it is an adjustment when you're new to the career and you don't know really what you're signing up for. And even if you have an indication and people give you this like list of things like, okay, this is what you're signing up for, you don't know how it's going to feel. You don't know what it's going to look like.
Or all the ways it affects life. Like there's just so many little things. You're like, oh yeah, and then that, and then that. And it just, yeah, everyone, I feel like, yeah, you can give as much advice as possible or, hey, here's what I went through. But it's like someone has to live it a little bit and then be like, oh, okay, now I understand. Or, okay, I remember you saying this. Or, hey, have you experienced XYZ? How might you have handled this? I have a very good friend, lifelong, like we met in middle school. Her husband, second career, was able to, go through the whole testing process, and he got hired and went through the academy within the last couple of years. So, later in life, but like that meant she's very established in her career. They've got children, different, a high school student and an elementary school student. And, they were very used to dad is home with this kid on this date, Friday, I think it was, or something, up until she went to school. And it was like, okay, now I don't have that anymore because, maybe some Fridays you have that if it's not his shift day, but generally every Friday you don't have dad anymore. And it's just like all those little things that you kind of take for granted is like, that's just our schedule and how it works. And it's like, oh, I have to pivot. That's not going to work anymore. I just had to do it as well. My husband promoted a year ago now, over a year, because he's off tenant's probation. But we're at a different station. He just got switched to a different shift as of, well, the end of this month. He's switching to a different shift. And I was like, okay. We found out just a couple weeks ago. I was like, okay, we've built everything around B shift. Now you're going elsewhere. It's like, okay. And we just had to sit down and map it out. I've got work travel that he has to take PTO for. There's no way around it. No one can fill, that parental void for, 48 hours that I'm gone. Or, I do adjust. And there was a couple, after, work day, like evening work type events that I'm just not going to be able to go to, because we had to shift, and it's disappointing and it's hard. But sitting down and mapping it out the best we can and knowing that we're both, sacrificing a little bit to make it work for the other, I think is what works for us. I hope most families are that way, but, I know that may not be the case.
Yeah. The pivot and just being flexible is.
I heard the other day it was one of these, it may have been Chelsea. It was like, it's not even flexible anymore. It's fluid because it's literally always moving and changing. And I was like, yeah, that's nothing is for certain.
My personality has totally changed since having kids. I was way more type A personality before having kids. Excel spreadsheets, color coding things, Post-it notes everywhere.
Yeah.
So much of that has gone. Like I get to stay home with the kids now. I get to homeschool our kids. So I have that flexibility to be more fluid. And it just, for us, it works now in this season, and we're establishing more routines and whatnot. But yeah, just fluid. It just works way better for us.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I applaud anyone doing homeschooling. I am not, I don't think my kids would necessarily want me as their teacher, and I would not be great at it. So I applaud you for that.
We're only in TK in first grade right now, so we're just getting started.
But still,
Thank you.
That's great. Yeah, it's nice you have the ability maybe to adjust. Like these days, we're going to start some lessons at this time, and like, yeah, this week it's not working. We're going to start later. Maybe that one's going to take longer than we intended, and we're going to build in outside time instead, or whatever. Yeah, you just got to find. There's a lot of trial and error, I think, in all of this. And then, of course, when it starts to work, your kids grow out of it, or
yes, for sure. Seriously, it's just new season, new chapter. Well, I've loved chatting with you. And before we wrap up, I just wanted to ask you a silly question, get to know you a little more. Is there something you wanted to share?
I don't think anything specific. You want to ask me a silly question?
Yeah.
You can ask all the way. Yeah.
What is your go-to song to sing in the shower or karaoke?
Oh gosh, I really don't sing in the shower. I do my best thinking in the shower. I don't know why. So many people
Yeah.
do. Um, Karaoke, anyone, if they're listening to this, will laugh because that's a given. It's my one and only. It's Salt and Pepper Shoop. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't say that's really singing. It's more
I love
yelling in the microphone, but
Yeah.
super fun. Yeah.
That's so fun. Okay, one more. Um, if you were to describe yourself with a morning mood emoji, what would your emoji be?
Morning mood.
Yes.
You know that like melting one?
So
Like,
good.
yeah,
I
that's,
love that.
yep, probably that. I am not like, let's get up and go. I'm like, oh, my bed is warm and cozy, especially in the winter. Um, yeah, so probably that.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I had so much fun getting to know you, Erin. Thank you for taking time to share with the collective today. And we are so happy that you're here in this space. And if anyone else is looking for connection in the fire family, please join us in the collective. There's so many wonderful faces there. There's so many great resources, and we want everyone to join and find value. So thank you again.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so happy to be here and part of the collective too.